Alright guys, so here's my review of the first season of Netflix's newest Marvel TV show, Luke Cage. Now, this is probably going to be one of the last things we get from Marvel Netflix for a while, at least until we get the Iron Fist and Defenders show next year. Also, this is a nice little tide over, something to tide us over until Doctor Strange, which will be until November. But yeah, this is a nice thing to tide us over for a little while longer until, at least that 1 month wait until Doctor Strange. Anyway, so what did I think of this? Well, Marvel Netflix continues to be awesome. That's what I think. Before we go any further, I want to say super props to whoever designed the soundtrack, because, good lord, is the soundtrack in this, like the songs and the music put with this, including the intro music to Luke Cage. I was like, God damn, this music's good. Yeah, man, props to whoever did that, major props. This is probably by far this is probably like the best soundtrack. I would say this, then Daredevil, for me, for composing wise. But yeah, this is really good. This was a cool way to follow up with, with everything that's been going on in the little corner of the Marvel Cinematic Universe that revolves around the street level heroes. And yeah, I gotta say that I really dig this. Mike Colter does a great job with this character. He continues to be awesome as Luke Cage. I really dug him as Luke Cage in the Jessica Jones show. And then when he got his own series, I was like, damn, they really expand on his character. This actually, it's kind of weird because I'm gonna say something really strange here. It actually kind of feels like a it kind of feels like a episodic version of Man of Steel. Like, we follow a guy who, if he reveals himself, he doesn't know how the public's going to react to him, because obviously they're very against superheroes, but then something happens, so he has to step into the light, and we've got a businessman against him that he could easily kill, but he won't because of his morals. So, it was kind of like a Superman. Luke Cage was like a Superman feel to it. Yeah, Man of Steel probably wasn't the best pick, but what I mean is, it does have a very Superman feel to it. I really dug this. All the characters we had in here, it was nice to see Theo Rossi in here. At the moment I saw him, I went, Juice! If you don't know, he played a character called Juice in one of my favorite shows, Sons of Anarchy. So the moment I saw him, I was like, Juice! Oh, man. But yeah, the story does follow a little after Jessica Jones and they've parted ways, and now he's at a barbershop until something happens, and now he is drawn into this conflict that he has to decide that can he step into the light. Now again, like I said, Mike Colter does a phenomenal job as Luke Cage. A lot of the actors are fantastic in here. Man, there is some great storytelling in here. What I will say is interesting about this show is that, unlike at least Daredevil Season 1 and Jessica Jones Season 1, you could argue Daredevil Season 2 did this, but really, I feel like this, more than the other shows, feels like in a 13-episode story, we had two different story arcs. We had... it felt like, the first 6 episodes completed a story arc, and then the following 7... feel like they are the start of a new story arc. Because it does feel very much like in Daredevil Season 1, where the first 4 episodes felt like a different story arc, and then it goes on from something else. That's what it kind of feels like here, but on a bigger scale, because the first 6 episodes feel very... it's pretty much, in a nutshell, Luke Cage versus Cottonmouth, but then we continue on further, and then it becomes something else entirely, from episode 7 to episode 13. I was like, man, it does feel like a comic book story arc. It does feel like a comic book run where you do have your first story arc and then you move on to your second story arc. And I really like that. I thought that was a cool way to go about it. Because, Daredevil, you could look at like the first season of Daredevil is like a 13-hour movie. And that's the same thing how it feels with Jessica Jones Season 1, but with Daredevil Season 2 and this, it feels like you're watching you're reading a 13-issue comic. Granted, very long comics, but still. I really don't want to spoil a lot for this. I really do not want to spoil anything for you guys in the... I might give minor spoilers, but I don't... Because since this just came out, I really don't want to spoil what happens in here with some of the characters. Because there are moments in here that made me go, holy shit! Particularly one moment that happened in episode 7, and if you've seen the show, then you know what the fuck I'm talking about, because... The moment that happened, I was like, oh, shit. Anyway, so, where was I going with this? Where was I going with this? Sorry, I lost my train of thought. But yeah, the villains in here, we actually got multiple villains, which was also very interesting. We got multiple... I think this is the first time... Well, Daredevil did this too, where it had multiple villains, but you could argue that Fisk was really the major player in the hand, played in a smaller part, but it was really, at the end game, it was Fisk. In here, it felt like, much like in a comic book, in each story arc, we get a villain. And, yeah... I know they built a lot about Cottonmouth, but they did a lot of building up with Cottonmouth. But then they brought in another villain, and if you know your Luke Cage history, then you know what villain I'm talking about here. Then that villain gets treated for the first few episodes and continued onward as a force of nature. Again, I don't want to spoil who the other villain they bring in. It's kind of interesting because again, like in the promos to all this, they always built up Cottonmouth as like this, big gangster type villain, and he was a very imposing. He was a very good threat for him. And going back to what I said, there's a meeting between Luke and Cottonmouth. Where it actually kind of feels like Superman talking to Lex Luthor. I don't know. Was it just me, or did anyone else get a Superman-Lex Luthor vibe from that scene? Or their rivalry in well, not their rivalry in general, but just from that scene alone, I was just thinking, it's like Superman and Luthor having a conversation. I don't know. Again, maybe it was just me. Who knows? We also have Cottonmouth's cousin in here, Mariah, who is you could really argue is the bigger villain here. She's really what you could argue is the bigger villain, and coupled with the other villain, again, I don't want to spoil who it is, and that kind of takes away a little bit from Cottonmouth, because like I said, they treated Cottonmouth in the promos as this big villain, but really, when you really look at it, he's kind of a pawn to the other villain. He feels like kind of like a pawn, and not to say anything wrong about that, we hardly these days ever get a villain who's a precursor to another villain in a lot of Marvel. We've seen that before in DC and some in Marvel, obviously with Loki being a precursor to Thanos in the Avengers movie, but we haven't really got that in a while, really. It kind of lessens Cottonmouth, but at the same time, just like what Qui-Gon said why did I forget it? Phantom Menace. Yeah, I'm just having not a great day, guys. What Qui-Gon said in Phantom Menace, there's always a bigger fish. Trust me, there is always a bigger fish. But yeah, when they bring in this other villain, you'll be like, oh shit, especially how he makes his entrance. I will say that right now. I still think, I like the chemistry, when they bring in this other villain and show off what he can do. But Cottonmouth had had some great complexity, and he was a villain with rules, and you clearly see just like he said about his Biggie post, his picture of Biggie, he said, everybody wants to be the king. And that's the same thing with Mariah, where Mariah, her story is very, again, her and Cottonmouth are cousins, but in here, they treat kind of her story kind of like what Fisk wanted to do with all of New York, where he's like, this city needed to die before it can be reborn, and she was trying to do it for all the right reasons, but she got very dirty, and we see that progression from episode 1 to episode to all the way to the end of her going, to basically becoming her cousin who she didn't want to be, and that was a pretty cool character evolution. Yeah, and you could argue that she was the bigger overarching villain until they bring in the other one. Again, I don't want to spoil who it is because again, this show came out just today as of this recording, so I really don't want to spoil it for anyone. But again, if you know your Luke Cage lore and his rogues gallery, you can probably guess who I'm talking about at this point. You can probably guess who I'm talking about at this point. So, but please don't spoil it for those watching. But yeah, Misty Knight. I wanted to talk a bit about her because I almost forgot. Misty Knight in here, her character. It's all right. I mean, she gets better as it goes on, but really, I don't know what they're trying to do here. Because again, when they were saying, "Oh, your partner's dirty," and she wouldn't believe it, but she does give off reasons why she doesn't believe it at first, and there are some moments in here where you think a scene is going to go one way, and then it just totally 360s. But there are some moments that are kind of predictable, like one character who's hanging out with another, and then he gets killed, and I'm like, yeah, I kind of figured that would happen. And then you had one scene in particular that made me go, holy shit, they just did that. What? Wait, hang on. Wait. Anyway. So, also, the character that Theo Rossi plays, Shades Alvarez, is actually the father of Victor Alvarez, the other character who's known as Power Man. Victor was also the student of Iron Fist, so I'm wondering if he has his kid by now, or not. I don't know. Anyway. Yeah, but going back to Misty, I don't know, like, something irritated me, like, when she just got she was getting angry, and, she did, I don't know, I kind of got more invested with Karen's story than I did Misty's, because I feel like Misty's just felt like, I'm just doing this to get back at Cage. That's what it kind of boiled down to, at least for me, I don't know. But I didn't hate the character, I didn't hate the character at all, I was just feeling, man, we had a lot of cool female characters in these Marvel Netflix shows, and maybe it's because Rosario Dawson was in here, and she really overshadowed a lot of people with her being Night Nurse, or as some people like to call her, the street-level Nick Fury. And that's what we're kind of starting to see her as, is this street-level Nick Fury who's starting to, bring all this, trying to get all the superheroes out there. And especially starting with Luke Cage, because now ever since she met Daredevil, her life's been tying in with all these other characters, and now she's like, now I feel like this is what I have to do, this is my calling in life. Maybe this is what I was here to do, help these other helped enhanced people. And yeah, obviously she's going to play a huge part in probably more than likely Defenders. I don't know if she'll be in Iron Fist, I don't know about that yet. But no, I thought it was cool to see her in here, and it's really cool to see them expand on the universe. I really dug a lot of, these characters, and again, the soundtrack, oh my god. It does get a little slow in the middle, but it picks right back up, just instantly. Like, it gets slow for a moment, and then just goes, boom, right back in the action. Okay, the first two episodes are a little slow. The first episode's a little slow. Second episode, when it kicks in hard. But yeah, the first episode's a little slow, but from there, you're just kind of, it grabs you by the hair and starts dragging you along like, come on, you gotta watch all this. Netflix just literally grabs you by the hair, slams your face in front of your computer or TV screen and goes, watch, as always. So, I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed Luke Cage. If you're a Luke Cage fan, you're obviously going to be very pleased by this. If you've been enjoying the Marvel Netflix series, yeah, you're definitely going to love this. What more can I say? So you guys, yeah, I really hope I didn't spoil anything too major. But yeah, so you guys tell me, what did you guys think of the Luke Cage Netflix show? Did you guys like it? Did you guys hate it? Just comment below, let me know, and once again, hope you all enjoyed this, and I will see you guys later.